My name is Elena, and this is the story of how my best friend of 15 years tried to destroy my life by exposing my most guarded secret in front of 200 people at her wedding, and how her cruel plan backfired so spectacularly that she lost everything while I gained the respect and support I never knew I needed. Stay until the end, because the final twist will leave you speechless. I met Jessica in college when we were both 18, struggling through freshman year at a prestigious university. We bonded over late-night study sessions, terrible cafeteria food, and dreams of building successful careers. She wanted to be a marketing executive. I wanted to be a trauma surgeon. For 15 years, we were inseparable. She was my maid of honor. I was hers when she got engaged to Marcus, a wealthy investment banker. We celebrated each other's promotions, comforted each other through breakups, and shared secrets we swore would never leave the sacred circle of our friendship. But what I didn't know was that Jessica had been harboring a toxic, corrosive jealousy toward me for years. And she was just waiting for the perfect moment to detonate the bomb that would destroy my reputation, my career, and my life. That moment came at her wedding reception. Before I explain what Jessica did, you need to understand what she exposed and why it mattered so much. 8 years ago, when I was in my 3rd year of medical residency, I made a catastrophic medical error during an emergency surgery. A patient, a 17-year-old boy named David, died on my operating table due to a decision I made under extreme pressure and exhaustion after a 36-hour shift. The investigation cleared me of criminal negligence. The hospital review board determined that systemic failures in resident work-hour policies contributed to the tragedy. I wasn't fired. I wasn't sued. Legally and professionally, I was protected. But emotionally, I was destroyed. I blamed myself completely. I attended therapy for years. I changed my specialty to reduce the pressure. I donated anonymously to the family. I carried the guilt like a physical weight every single day. And I told only 2 people the full, devastating truth, my husband Daniel, and my best friend Jessica. I trusted her with the darkest moment of my life. I cried in her arms for hours. She promised she would never tell anyone, that my secret was safe with her forever. She lied. Jessica's wedding was supposed to be the social event of the year. A lavish ceremony at an exclusive country club, 200 guests, a designer dress, a live band. She'd been planning it obsessively for 18 months. She asked me to give a toast at the reception. As her best friend, how could I refuse? I spent weeks preparing the perfect speech. Funny stories from college, heartfelt moments about our friendship, warm wishes for her marriage. I practiced it dozens of times, making sure every word reflected how much I valued our bond. The wedding day arrived. The ceremony was beautiful. Jessica looked stunning. Everything was perfect. At the reception, after dinner, the toasts began. The best man spoke first, then Jessica's father. Then it was my turn. I stood up, champagne glass in hand, smiling at the crowd of 200 people, colleagues, friends, family members, prominent members of our city's medical and business communities. I began my speech, and everyone laughed at the right moments, smiled warmly, and raised their glasses. Then I finished and sat down, feeling proud that I'd honored my best friend so perfectly. That's when Jessica stood up and asked for the microphone. "Thank you so much, Elena," she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. That was beautiful. And since we're sharing stories today, I want to share one about Elena that I think everyone should hear. My stomach dropped. Something in her tone was wrong. Jessica's smile turned cold. Elena is a doctor, as many of you know. What you might not know is that 8 years ago, she killed a patient during surgery. A 17-year-old boy. His name was David Chen. The room went silent. Every eye turned toward me. She made a critical error because she was exhausted and careless, Jessica continued, her voice growing louder. She's never publicly acknowledged it. She's built her entire career on a lie, pretending to be this perfect, ethical doctor when she's actually responsible for ending a child's life. My face burned. My hands shook. I couldn't breathe. She told me in confidence years ago, crying and begging me never to tell anyone, Jessica said, addressing the crowd like a prosecutor. But I think it's time everyone knows the truth about who Elena really is. Patients deserve to know if their doctor has killed someone. People were staring at me with shock, horror, and disgust. Some were whispering. Others were recording on their phones. Jessica raised her glass. So here's to honesty and truth. She sat down, looking triumphant. I sat frozen, unable to move, unable to speak, my worst nightmare playing out in front of 200 witnesses. My career, my reputation, my entire life, exposed and destroyed in 90 seconds. But here's what Jessica didn't know, I wasn't the only person in that room with secrets. And her vicious betrayal was about to trigger a chain reaction she never saw coming. For 10 agonizing seconds, the reception hall was completely silent. Then Dr. Patricia Morrison stood up. Dr. Morrison was the chief of surgery at the largest hospital in our city, a legendary figure in medicine, and one of the most respected voices in our medical community. She was sitting at a table with several other prominent physicians who happened to be guests. Jessica, Dr. Morrison said, her voice cutting through the silence like a scalpel, I'm going to tell you something very important, and I need you to listen carefully. Jessica's triumphant smile faltered. 8 years ago, Dr. Morrison continued, Dr. Elena Rodriguez was part of a surgical team that lost a patient named David Chen during an emergency procedure. The subsequent investigation, which I personally oversaw as the hospital's chief of surgery, concluded that the tragedy resulted from a combination of factors including systemic resident work hour violations, inadequate supervision, and equipment failure. The room's attention shifted completely from me to Dr. Morrison. Dr. Rodriguez was exonerated of any wrongdoing, she said firmly. She was not negligent. She was not reckless. She was a young resident in an impossible situation created by failures at every level of our institution. The fact that she carries guilt about that case is a testament to her integrity as a physician, not evidence of wrongdoing. Dr. Morrison's eyes were hard as steel. What you just did, Jessica, was not honesty. It was a cruel, malicious distortion of a tragedy for your own purposes. And frankly, it tells me far more about your character than it does about Elena's. 3 other doctors at Dr. Morrison's table stood up and began clapping. Then more people joined. Within seconds, half the room was applauding. Jessica's face went white. But Dr. Morrison wasn't finished. Since we're apparently sharing secrets tonight, she said, her voice dripping with acid, perhaps we should discuss why you felt compelled to publicly humiliate your supposed best friend on your wedding day. Jessica's eyes went wide with panic. I don't know what you... I've known Elena for 3 years, Dr. Morrison interrupted. She works at my hospital. She's one of the finest, most compassionate physicians I've ever supervised. And 6 months ago, she came to me in distress because her best friend, that's you, Jessica, had asked her to fraudulently diagnose you with a medical condition so you could collect disability insurance while you secretly worked as a consultant. The room erupted in gasps. Elena refused, Dr. Morrison continued. She reported the request to our hospital's ethics board as required by law. And I suspect this little performance tonight was your revenge for her refusing to commit insurance fraud on your behalf. Jessica was shaking. That's a lie. Is it? Dr. Morrison pulled out her phone. Because I have the formal ethics complaint right here, filed by Dr. Rodriguez, dated 6 months ago. Would you like me to read it aloud? Marcus, the groom, stood up slowly, his face dark with confusion and anger. Jessica, what is she talking about? Jessica tried to speak but no words came out. That's when my husband Daniel stood up, his voice steady and calm. "There's more," he said. "Elena didn't want to tell anyone this because she valued your friendship, Jessica. But 2 months ago, you tried to convince her to lie to me about where you were spending your weekends." Marcus turned to Jessica. "Where were you spending your weekends?" "With your business partner," Daniel said quietly. "Having an affair. Elena confronted you about it privately. She begged you to tell Marcus before the wedding. You told her to mind her own business." The room exploded. Marcus was shouting. Jessica was crying. Guests were pulling out their phones, capturing every moment of the spectacular implosion. And I sat there, still in shock, watching my supposed best friend's carefully constructed life collapse in real time. What happened next was pure chaos. Marcus demanded answers from Jessica in front of everyone. She tried to deny the affair, but his business partner, who was actually in attendance, went pale and walked out without saying a word. That was all the confirmation Marcus needed. Jessica tried to chase after Marcus, but he ordered her to stay away from him. He announced to the entire reception that the marriage was over before it even began and walked out of his own wedding. Several guests, including prominent members of the medical community, came to me privately to express their support. They told me they knew about the David Chen case, that they respected how I'd handled it, and that Jessica's attack was unconscionable. Dr. Morrison pulled me aside. "Elena, I'm sorry you had to experience that. But I want you to know, your secret was never something to be ashamed of. Tragedies happen in medicine. How we respond to them defines us. You responded with integrity, growth, and compassion. That's what matters." I started crying, not from humiliation anymore, but from relief and gratitude. Meanwhile, Jessica's family was mortified. Her mother was in tears. Her father was furious about the wasted money on the wedding. Guests were leaving in droves, and those who stayed were documenting the disaster on social media. The beautiful, perfect wedding Jessica had spent 18 months planning had turned into her public destruction in less than 20 minutes. And I hadn't said a single word. The fallout was swift and devastating, for Jessica. Within 24 hours, video clips of Dr. Morrison's defense of me and the revelation of Jessica's affair went viral in our local medical and business communities. The hashtag Jessica's wedding disaster trended locally for 3 days. Marcus filed for an annulment immediately. His lawyer argued fraud and deceit as grounds for voiding the marriage before it was legally consummated. Jessica's employer, a prestigious marketing firm, launched an investigation into her ethics after the insurance fraud allegation became public. They discovered she'd been padding her expense reports for years and fired her for embezzlement. Her affair partner's wife filed for divorce, naming Jessica in the proceedings. The scandal destroyed his business partnership with Marcus, and his company collapsed within months. Jessica tried to reach out to me repeatedly, sending desperate texts and emails claiming she'd been trying to help me by forcing me to confront my past. She insisted she'd done it out of love and concern. I blocked her on everything. But the investigation into her request for insurance fraud wasn't finished. The state insurance board opened a formal investigation, and Jessica was eventually charged with attempted insurance fraud, a felony. She accepted a plea deal that included probation, community service, and restitution. Her social life was destroyed. Mutual friends cut her off completely. Her family was humiliated. She had to move to a different city to escape the scandal. 3 months after the wedding disaster, I received an unexpected email from Jessica's younger sister, Sarah, someone I'd always liked but hadn't stayed close to. Sarah asked to meet me for coffee. She said she had something important to tell me. When we met, Sarah looked nervous and guilty. "Elena, I need to tell you something about Jessica that you deserve to know." She pulled out her phone and showed me text messages between her and Jessica from 6 months earlier, right around the time Jessica had asked me to commit insurance fraud. The messages revealed the truth. Jessica had been planning to destroy me for over a year. She was jealous of my medical career, my stable marriage, and my reputation. She resented that I'd recovered from the David Chen tragedy while she felt her own career was stagnating. The insurance fraud request was deliberate. She wanted me to either commit a crime that would ruin me or refuse so she'd have ammunition to paint me as a bad friend. When I refused, she planned the wedding speech as her revenge. But there was more. Sarah showed me another message from Jessica, dated 1 week before the wedding. I can't wait to watch Elena's face when I destroy her in front of everyone. She thinks she's so perfect. Everyone thinks she's so ethical. I'm going to show them who she really is. And the best part? She'll never see it coming. My hands shook as I read the messages. Jessica hadn't acted impulsively or out of misguided concern. She had planned, with malicious intent, to destroy my life as viciously as possible. Sarah was crying. I should have warned you. I should have said something. I'm so sorry. I thanked Sarah for finally telling me the truth, even though it was painful to see the depth of Jessica's betrayal spelled out so clearly. A year has passed since Jessica's wedding disaster. My life didn't just recover, it flourished. Dr. Morrison became a mentor to me, and under her guidance, I've advanced in my career to a leadership position at the hospital. I now supervise resident physicians and teach courses on medical ethics, patient safety, and managing the emotional toll of medicine. I've started speaking publicly about the David Chen case, not as a shameful secret, but as an important lesson about systemic failures in healthcare, the dangers of resident work hour violations, and the importance of supporting physicians through tragedy. My talks have been well received, and I've been invited to speak at medical conferences across the country. David Chen's family reached out to me after seeing one of my presentations. They thanked me for using their son's death as a catalyst for positive change in medical education. They told me David would have wanted something good to come from his loss. That conversation brought me more peace than 15 years of therapy ever had. My marriage is stronger than ever. Daniel stood by me through the public humiliation and the emotional aftermath, and our bond deepened through the crisis. As for Jessica, I heard through mutual acquaintances that she eventually moved across the country, changed careers, and cut ties with almost everyone from her old life. Her plan to destroy me destroyed her instead. I don't hate her anymore. I pity her. Because she threw away a genuine friendship, a marriage, a career, and her reputation, all because she couldn't handle her own jealousy and insecurity. Looking back, I realized that Jessica's vicious attack was the best thing that could have happened to me. For 8 years, I'd carried the David Chen case as a shameful secret, a burden I had to hide from the world. Jessica forced me to confront it publicly, but in doing so, she gave me the opportunity to reclaim my narrative. Instead of being destroyed by the exposure, I was liberated by it. Dr. Morrison's public defense showed me that the medical community already understood and respected what I'd been through. The outpouring of support from colleagues showed me that my fear of judgment was far worse than any actual judgment I would face. Jessica tried to weaponize my vulnerability, but she accidentally freed me from it instead. The secret I'd been so terrified of revealing, the mistake that haunted me for nearly a decade, turned out to be the foundation for my most meaningful work. Now I help other doctors navigate the emotional trauma of medical errors, I advocate for systemic changes to prevent resident exhaustion, and I speak openly about the importance of physician mental health. Jessica wanted to destroy me by exposing my past. Instead, she helped me build a better future. I ran into Jessica exactly 1 year after her wedding disaster. I was at a medical conference in Chicago, standing in line for coffee, when I heard a familiar voice behind me. Elena? I turned around. It was Jessica. She looked different, thinner, older, tired. Her expensive clothes and designer accessories were gone, replaced by a simple outfit that looked worn. But what struck me most was her eyes. The bitterness and jealousy that had poisoned her for so long seemed to have burned themselves out, leaving only emptiness. Hi, Jessica, I said calmly. She looked nervous, uncertain. I didn't expect to see you here. I'm speaking at the conference, I said. About medical ethics and physician trauma recovery. She nodded slowly, understanding the implication. I'd built a career on the ruins of what she tried to destroy. Elena, She struggled to find words. I'm sorry. For everything. I was so angry and jealous, and I convinced myself that you didn't deserve your success. I wanted to hurt you. And I destroyed my own life instead. I could have been cruel. I could have told her she deserved everything that happened to her. But standing there, looking at the broken shell of someone who used to be my best friend, I felt only sadness. I forgive you, I said quietly. Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. I hope you find yours too. Her eyes filled with tears. Thank you, she whispered. I picked up my coffee and walked away. I didn't look back. Today, I'm not defined by the mistake I made 8 years ago. I'm defined by what I've built since then. I'm a respected physician, a mentor, an advocate for medical reform, and a speaker who helps others navigate their own professional traumas. The secret Jessica tried to weaponize became my greatest strength. Marcus, Jessica's ex-husband, actually reached out to me last month to apologize for not seeing who she really was. He's remarried now, happy with someone who treats him with respect. He thanked me for being honest about the affair, even though it cost me my friendship with Jessica. Dr. Morrison remains my mentor and friend. She told me recently that my willingness to speak openly about medical errors has changed the culture at our hospital for the better. Residents now feel safe reporting mistakes and asking for help instead of suffering in silence the way I did. And David Chen's family? They established a scholarship fund in his name for medical students who demonstrate exceptional compassion and ethical integrity. This year, they asked me to help select the recipients. It's an honor I take very seriously. Here's what I learned from this experience: the best revenge isn't carefully plotting someone's downfall. It's living well, growing from your pain, and refusing to let someone else's cruelty define you. Jessica tried to destroy me with a secret. But secrets only have power when we give them power. Once the truth was out in the open, I realized that the people who mattered, my colleagues, my mentors, my husband, my patients, already understood that mistakes don't define us. How we respond to them does. Jessica's betrayal hurt me deeply, but it also freed me from years of unnecessary shame and fear. She wanted to expose my weakness. Instead, she revealed my strength. She wanted to end my career. Instead, she helped me find my true purpose. She wanted to isolate me. Instead, she connected me with a community of support I didn't know I had. In the end, the person who suffered most from her vicious plan was Jessica herself. And I didn't have to do a single thing to make that happen. Her own cruelty, dishonesty, and jealousy destroyed her life far more effectively than I ever could have. That's the real lesson: when you try to build your happiness on someone else's destruction, you end up destroying yourself. If you're watching this and you're carrying a secret that weighs on you, a mistake, a failure, a moment you're ashamed of, I want you to know something important. Your secrets have less power than you think. The people who truly matter will understand that we all make mistakes. The people who judge you harshly for being human were never really on your side anyway. And sometimes, the thing you're most afraid of revealing is actually the key to your liberation. Jessica thought she knew my deepest secret. What she didn't know was that I was already stronger than my secret. And when she forced me to confront it publicly, all she did was prove that strength to the world. If this story resonated with you, please share it. If you've experienced betrayal by someone you trusted, you're not alone. And remember, the truth will set you free, even when someone tries to use it as a weapon against you.